This is Chaplain Tyler, and you're watching this on You Got This with Tyler. Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about personality tests. And we're going to be talking specifically about the 4 questions to ask prior to taking the personality tests. We're going to be talking about the 3 principles to apply when taking the tests. And we're going to be talking about 4 different cautions when you're interpreting the results of these tests. Now, when I say personality test, I'm talking about the tests that help us determine our values. There are other ones out there. There are IQ tests, which measures intelligence quotient, and there's other things like that. But I'm going to be talking specifically about values because that's where my primary interest lies. And I believe that it's the best way to understand who we are and who others are. What are the 4 questions to ask prior to taking a personality test? What we want to ask is, what is it that I actually want to have measured? And that goes down to what kind of test I choose to take. Do I want to understand my core values? Do I want to understand my operational or situational values? Depending on what you want to have measured will determine the type of test you're going to take, and it will determine how you're planning to answer the questions. Second thing you want to ask is the test that I'm about to take, is it valid and reliable when compared to other personality inventories or tests? Personality tests in general are notoriously hard to determine if they're valid and reliable. It just is. It's just really tough. So when I'm talking about establishing validity and reliability, I'm talking about against other personality tests or inventories. Otherwise, it doesn't help. You can't compare apples to oranges, as they say. You have to compare apples to apples. Well, that's what we're doing here in this case. Third thing you want to figure out is, does the test actually help you with something that's applicable in the real world? Or is it just something that's some theoretical construct? There are a lot of really interesting tests out there that claim to measure different things, but when it comes to the application of those things in the real world, they don't help. They don't do anything. And I tend to stay away from those. And last is, am I in the right state of mind to take this test? Most of the time, I find as I'm administering these kind of tests with people that if somebody is really agitated or under a tremendous amount of stress, that skews how they're going to answer the questions. And it doesn't give us an accurate representation of who they actually are. So what I'll say is, maybe it's not the right time to take the test, or I'll say, do you need a few minutes to go and to find a peaceful place to be? Then we can take the test in a little bit. I don't want somebody to take a test in a state of mind where they're so agitated it isn't accurate anymore. Stress, major stress, anxiety, trauma, grieving, large emotional situations can really skew the results. When you're actually going to go take the personality test, what are the 3 principles to apply when you're selecting the answers? Go with your strongest inclination. Sometimes you have 2 or 3 or 4 different choices, and all of them look good because all of them are things that matter to you. They're all part of your value system. Well, choose the one that has the most meaning for you. Choose the one that, I guess one way to say it is, that calls out to you the great. Look at your behaviors, although behaviors can sometimes mislead, which we'll talk about in a minute. But look at your behaviors when you're at home, and what do you do? What's your strongest inclination? Go with that. Second thing to look at is, answer the questions as if you were a child again. And what I mean by that is, when we were children, we were a lot more free to express who we are. And if we answer questions as if we were a child again, it goes a long way to reflecting our core values, our core personality. So think about what you would have done in a situation when you were maybe 7 or 8. What would you have been like? What were those things? That gets more to our core. And that helps us to get rid of some of the bias that comes in due to our experiences, which do shape us and can sometimes mislead. Third thing, when you're choosing your answers, look at what is it that I am most willing to experience pain for. I talked about this in my last video. What is it that you're willing to experience pain for? And if you're willing to experience pain for a particular choice out of the 3 or 4 or whatever that are there, then that tells you that that's probably your stronger value. Go with that. Those 3 things should help you when you're taking personality tests get to your core values a little bit better. Now, when looking at the results from a personality inventory or test, I have 4 cautions for you. First caution is that some of these tests are based on behaviors, and they extrapolate your values from the behaviors you have. That's not always the best way to get to your core values. Situational values, sure. Environmental values, operational values, sure, that works really well. But not your core values. Your core values can be very different than what your behaviors are. I'll give you an example. I was administering one of these tests to a group of school teachers several years ago, and one of the school teachers came up to me after the test was completed, and she said, "I don't understand my results." And I said, "Okay, so what's the deal?" And she said, "Well, I took this test several years ago, and I came out in that test a particular way, and that felt really good and right. Now I take this test and I'm 100% opposite, totally opposite, and I don't understand." And I said, "Okay, well, what's changed? What has happened since you took this test the first time?" She said, "Well, I've taken this job, which causes me to be a certain way. I need to be a certain way." I'm like, "Okay, so that's your situation, your work situation has changed. Is there anything else?" She said, "Well, I now have kids, and my family requires me to be a certain way in order for them to have peace and security. So now my home life has changed." And I said, "Okay, so what you're saying to me, what I'm hearing is that you are very situationally oriented. Your value system, the value system you're using right now is one that reflects your work and reflects your family." I don't think that actually changes the core of who you are. It just means that the values that you have to live out right now are a little different. And she kind of thought about it and she went, that makes a lot of sense. So my core hasn't changed, but because of the situations I'm in, I'm having to live different values. I said, "Yeah, that sounds right." And she goes, "I like that. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you." So be careful. The behavioral tests may not give you an indication of your core personality. They may only be a reflection of the situations you find yourself in. The second caution I have for you when you're interpreting these results is beware of user bias. And what I mean by that is that some people believe they want to be a certain way or believe they are a certain personality type. And what they do is that they are so sure that they're that personality type that they answer not based on what they actually are, but they answer based on what they want to be. And I have seen this, so that when someone is so strong in what they want to be, they cause it to happen. That's user bias. That does not reflect an honest approach. They mean well, I guess. They're trying to fulfill a certain image of themselves, but it just isn't a true reflection of who they are. The third thing is that when interpreting the results from personality tests is be careful, because these tests are only as valid as your self-awareness and your self-honesty. You can be as honest as you could possibly be with these tests and your answers and still be wrong if your self-awareness is not accurate. That was my problem. As I related in my last video, I did not know who I was. in truth, and I thought I was a certain way, and for the majority of my life I thought I was a certain way. So I answered the questions on these tests in a certain way, but it wasn't accurate. And it's only in the last few years that I'm learning that I hold core values very differently than what I thought I did. And it's both freeing and a little scary. But be careful. Self-awareness and honesty need to be there. The last caution I have for you when interpreting results from personality tests is these are not meant to be a label. They're not meant to be something that dictates who you are. They're meant to help you with understanding, not based on an absolute rule. Remember the example I gave of the teacher? Well, she's somebody that has changed over time. Yes, her core personality is the same, but her behaviors have had to be different. And her value system has changed over time to accommodate the situation that the situations she finds herself in. So don't get stuck on a label. Don't get stuck on, I am this way. No, these are your tendencies. They're not absolute values. Okay? Now, if you've done all those things and you have a set of results that indicate a certain set of values for yourself, great. Go check them out with loved ones. Make sure that you are not wanting to be a certain way and you're not. Go and share. It's a really good opportunity to communicate and establish more understanding and get and more intimacy in relationships. And my hope is that this little video will help you to find a little bit more of your true authentic self, to help, and when you take these tests, to help you find who your core is, who you are, not who you want to be, not who you think you should be, not what your work tells you you are, not what even your family tells you you are, but really who you are. Because who you are is exactly how you should be and who you were made to be. And it's wonderful and it's unique and it's great. This is Chaplain Tyler. Remember, I believe in you and you got this. You do. You got this. And You Got This is on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and soon to be LinkedIn. All right. Have a very blessed day, everybody. And I look forward to my next video with you. Take care.